All right, let's just kick things off with a claim that's, well, it's about as subtle as a sledgehammer, right? This is the opening line from the publishing tycoon Felix Dennis. It's so bold, so arrogant, and it immediately makes you wonder, what did this guy know that the rest of us don't? So, what we're going to do here is break down How to Get Rich, the totally unfiltered, no nonsense guide from the guy who founded Maxim magazine. You need to forget everything you think you know about getting rich quick. Dennis's way is more like a get rich the hard, painful, and brutally honest way. Okay, so right off the bat, here is the first major twist. Most books about getting wealthy, they try to sell you on the dream from page one. Dennis, he spends the first half of his book basically trying to talk you out of even making the attempt. He's not some guru cheering you on from the sidelines. Think of him more like a reluctant guide, posting all these big, scary warning signs at the beginning of a very, very dangerous trail. And this really gets to the absolute core of his warning. For Dennis, just wanting to be rich is completely useless. He believed you need a compulsion, a real obsession, what he calls an inner demon that's driving you. If the thought of failing doesn't absolutely terrify you into action, if you're not willing to sacrifice pretty much everything else, he says you're honestly better off not even starting the journey. So, what are we even chasing here? What does rich even mean? For Dennis, this was never about the Lambos or the mansions. The real prize, the whole reason for going on this brutal journey, is ultimate freedom. It's the freedom to completely control your time and the freedom to control your location. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And Dennis, he had this pretty unique way of putting numbers to this whole rich thing. If you've got a couple $1,000,000 in the bank, congratulations. In his world, you're one of the comfortably poor. And look, this table isn't just for shock value. It's really designed to make you understand the sheer scale of the mountain he's talking about climbing. We're talking about a completely different stratosphere of wealth. All right, let's talk about the first big myth he just loves to tear down, the whole light bulb moment. The belief that every great fortune starts with one single brilliant, revolutionary idea. Well, here comes the reality check. Dennis was adamant that ideas are a dime a dozen. Seriously, everybody has them. The only thing that matters, is that inspiration is totally worthless without implementation. What separates the rich people from the daydreamers is the brutal, boring, and absolutely relentless grind of execution. I love this analogy he uses. An idea is just a tool. Yeah, it might make the job easier, but it doesn't do the work for you. Athletes win races, not their shoes. And entrepreneurs build fortunes, not ideas. Execution, that's the athlete. Yeah, he actually puts a number on this. A pretty big one. Perfect execution of a plan is, in his opinion, 1,000 times more important than the idea itself. He argued that if your execution is truly flawless, sometimes it barely even matters what the original idea was. Okay, myth number 2. This is the one everybody loves to fall back on, right? Luck. The idea that some people are just born lucky, and the rest of us, well, we're just not. Dennis had a very, very different take. See, he didn't see luck as this passive thing that just happens to you. No, for him, luck is something you actively hunt down. You don't sit around and wait for luck to find you. You prepare relentlessly so that when an opportunity, any opportunity, shows up, you are ready to pounce. It's the difference between being the predator and being the prey. So, how do you actually do that? How do you become the predator? Well, Dennis lays out these behaviors. It's about using your fear of failure as fuel. It's about never, ever giving up, and about being bold. The idea is, you don't go looking for Lady Luck. You make yourself so prepared, so focused, and so dangerous that she has no choice but to find you. Okay, so if it's not about having a great idea, and it's not just about getting lucky, then what in the world is the actual secret? After he's done busting all these myths, Dennis finally reveals his one single, non-negotiable key to getting rich. And it's not just hard work. It's not raw talent. It's not even who you know. According to Dennis, it's something way simpler and way more absolute. It's just one word. That's it. Ownership. Equity. Having a stake in the game. And this right here, this is the absolute bedrock of his entire philosophy. You will never, ever get truly rich working for someone else. A high salary, a nice bonus, a company car, he saw them all as traps. Dennis was absolutely fanatical about this. You must own as close to 100% of your business as humanly possible. Guard your equity like your life depends on it, because, well, it does. So, how do you put that principle of ownership into practice? Well, he boils it down to these three pillars of execution. First, focus. Don't chase your passion, chase the money into new growing industries. Second, delegate. Hire people who are way smarter than you and then get out of their way. And third, and this is crucial, reward them handsomely with cash, with bonuses, a piece of the yearly profits. But never, ever give away the one thing that actually counts: ownership. But, and this is a huge but, getting that prize comes at a cost. And this is where Dennis's brutal honesty comes roaring back. He was convinced it was impossible to win the game of wealth without paying a very steep, very personal price. You have to understand, the kind of drive he's talking about is like an all-consuming fire. And Dennis is completely unflinching about this. He says it will cost you relationships, it will cost you time with your family, and it will cost you friendships. The obsession that's required to win in the financial world means you will almost certainly lose in others. And that's not just a possibility. He presents it as an inevitability. So here's the hard truth, the thing nobody really wants to hear. Getting rich might solve all your money problems, but it often creates a whole new set of human ones. The end of that long road isn't always happiness. A lot of the time, it's a really complicated mix of comfort, stress, and a deep, profound sense of isolation. Which brings us to his last, and maybe his most, challenging piece of advice. After an entire lifetime spent clawing and fighting to build a massive fortune, what was his endgame, his plan? To give it all away. And that just forces you to ask a really tough question. If the ultimate goal is just to get rid of it, what was the point of the brutal, all-consuming journey in the first place? And that's a question only you can answer for yourself.